Wait, because the mic
So you've got to
failed.
plug that in before I
Oh,
turn
damn
this
it.
on.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, that's green. Now
Ah,
let me just do it.
mic check, mic check. These are our lapel mics that, well, when we're not out, there's no need to. Testing, testing, testing. Now, if there's no audio, we'll just start again. So, oh, hello, you can see. This is meta. Like, I'm now watching.
Yeah, we got audio.
I'm watching. I'm watching. I'm watching. I'm watching. I'm watching.
This is weird.
This is meta. It's crazy.
Exception.
Oh, yeah, exception. Hey, that's cool. That's funny. You're so clever.
All right.
Okay, great. Well, we're here.
Sorry.
It's so weird. Okay, we're going to stop talking now. Well, good morning to the Daily Egg. Good morning to the Daily Egg. No, welcome to the day. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning, babes. I'm giving warnings now and scheduling so that people can have a chance to have it, because Azrael's like, I'm always missing it. That's because not we. He's very much a time, stick to it. Me, I'm like, time, what's that? Man-made. But also, oh my gosh. I guess I wanted to read out some news headlines because one of the funniest things that is happening in the world, in the state of America, the state of America is banning TikTok before they're banning Nazis, before they're banning racism, before they ban anything else.
They're banning TikTok.
They're banning TikTok. And the reason being is that TikTok is owned or founded and co-owned by a Singaporean who happens to be of Chinese ancestry. Oh, wow. Look what Azrael has said there. See, that's lovely. That really I'm very big on quality of audience. So for me, I have my highest accolade, my highest audience. And then just if I see one or two people I really appreciate, and they're here, and then it makes me feel like, okay, great, cool, I'm good. I've got an audience now. I've got people. I like that. For me, audience isn't about number. It's about quality. I know that sounds crazy because I would love if there was quantity, but then who's watching? This is a question you ask me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Who's watching? And who's,
who you want watching, right?
Yeah, that's right. Azrael has just said it's funny that they are banning TikTok, but they're not doing that with gun control. Thank you. The lobbying for, I forgot about that. But all the things that they haven't banned, and they're going to ban TikTok. Canada has banned TikTok because they say that information is being sold to the Chinese. Bollocks! It's not a Singaporean-born Chinese. It's like saying Australian-born Europeans are all European. And Australian-born Europeans are all descendants of the colonial invaders. So that's crazy. Just because, anyway. China, though, I get it. Look, this is just retaliation because China doesn't have any of the US platforms there. They don't have Facebook. They don't have all the US platforms. They have their own platforms. And this is a country of how many billions people? Their platforms are huge. So 300 million people using one platform. That's just 300 million people in China alone. And that leaves 700 million to be on other. So they have their own platforms. They have Douyin, which is where a lot of people get their TikTok content from. And I don't remember, where's Weibo? There's a couple of other things. I don't really know their platforms, but I do know their platforms, so just not off the top of my head, because I always monitor, as a publicist, as a journalist, you do need to monitor what's going on in the world. And as a publicist, I like to know what's happening in the world and on the world platforms. You can actually access those platforms outside of China. However, you cannot access your platforms if you're non-Chinese and you go into China. You can't access your usual US platforms. Why are we all like, the US controls so much of the information highway that we have just given over our entire information to all of these people who have sold our information and continue to do that. And we know that. Zuckerberg gets taken to court or Congress or whatever the hell, sits on a cushion on a chair for it. I'm just having a go at that cushion on a chair thing, but it's quite funny. But I also think that's a terrible thing to make fun of. But people, this is the first time he was supposed to answer to Congress, and he couldn't sit on the seat, so they put a cushion. And I think that was actually unnecessary humiliation.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. After all, this guy did do something. He co-created a platform that so many people rely on for everything, for remembering birthdays, for information, for connecting.
He changed socializing.
He changed socializing because he hated. Well, obviously, if you aren't really good, he only started Facebook to meet a girl. It was an inter-institution thing, inter-school thing. And it took off. So he's brilliant, big, great. American, you're a white American, a certain kind of you're a white American male. So naturally, they're going to, not understand how the rest of the world works because they're so insular. So you can't fault Zuckerberg for the fact that he started this platform. You can fault the world for how we all reacted to it and how then that changed his perception and those people's perception. Like I say this with fame. Fame, first of all, it's the people around you that change. You try and stay as the same as possible, or you actually do succeed. But because, particularly if you're from the days of when merit is what got you fame and not just you, hustling for attention. And that's a strange thing just for me to say as on the information highways that we have now, because we all have to do that, regardless of what you have got. I go through Instagram and YouTube and start seeing things, people who are doing things like us, who are talking, are presenting the news and information, cooking, etc., etc. And it's like, ooh, it's all so polished and so much is so good. So much is so good. It's like, oh wow, that's so great. Well, we can only do what we do. I don't want to copy anybody. I don't need to mimic. I don't need to be authentic by following the steps of these people.
Scripting.
And scripting. Scripting is one thing I do have to.
No, be authentic by scripting.
Oh yeah, authentic by scripting. Yeah, script out your authenticity. Some people do have to script to prepare. I absolutely understand that.
I do.
Excuse me. Let me just clear my throat. I get really worried now. Where's your phone? I do need to check. I do need to. I've got my tablet here. Okay, because I do need to actually get my. Okay, great. It's still there. So as I'm saying, I'm not sucking up to Zuckerberg. I think all this is bullshit. So don't ban me. Whatever. Oh my gosh, Instagram is really punishing me for just everything. Any way it can. Any comment I make, it flags it as being spam. And I'm like, okay, so the actual spam comments that litter and contaminate all the accounts, news accounts, other accounts, they don't get banned. But when I'm sharing a story about myself or something, anyway. So, okay, what I was saying about fame, people around you change. And as I was talking about the hustle culture today, even artists and scientists and philosophers and educators and doctors and even psychologists are all like doing fancy, Oh, there's all this trend to do on Instagram, on TikTok, etc. Like you have some really cool music, and then you make a point, you write down the point, And the reason why you do this is because, and so, and then they add all this,
right.
so they create a little thing, and it's all very good. These are psychologists doing this. Doctors now have to hustle on social media. Everybody seems to. We all have to. So as an artist, I feel, well, God, that's crazy, because what this social media hustle is about is about hustling for recognition, hustling for attention. So before, when the talent was the one vying for attention, you were looking to vie for attention. You were vying for attention with industry insiders. So like, look at, I'm good. Am I good? And then they decide to make you famous.
That's right.
So I'm not saying that the old ways were entirely correct, because a lot of ways were dependent on privilege and opportunities. And if you're a woman, the privilege came with looks. So looks is also a privilege. Still, to this day, looks is always going to be a privilege. It shouldn't have been, but it is. And so that's the opportunities you use. But now it's about using Instagram or social media to draw attention to yourself. Look how fantastic I am. And then hopefully you'll get the merit after that. Look, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a very strange.
I think it kind of works in the same way, except there's so many people, everyone has access to it now. Yeah.
Sorry for the gulping.
Before, access to the opportunity to be famous was freaking
Privileged and hard.
It was hard to get your foot in the door,
And that's why so many people,
like, to be a lead artist on something, you had to start from the bottom. To be the head chef, you had to start from the dishes. For being on radio, you had to start really like hard yards and stuff. Back when Australia used to be like that, because I come from Fiji, and that's our media was really hard. So yeah. But then some people, you just see something in someone, and then you just, that's how it used to be. Fuck them off the street. Now not so. Yeah. Now, superstars were this. There's people who still have something, but it's very rare to pick someone off the street. And now everyone's looking for everyone on social media. And the danger with that is that, well, it's still about looks, right? Yeah. But now looks outweighs merit. And something you said that I was going to say something about, which I'll come back to. Oh, I can't remember. So yeah, but hustling on social media for attention is still drawing attention to what a person can do. But now people no longer care about what you can do. It's about what you're doing. Yeah, wow. Oh, what people resonate with? What you're showing that you're doing. Right. Not about what you do. I was going to say, like, the doctors thing, right? Everyone's hustling on Instagram now. Is it because there's so many more doctors, or what? Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Which leads me to this. Thank you very much for jogging my memory on something, because I forgot to talk about this. That woman who, after her husband when he passed away, he left her billions of dollars, something, because he was a shareholder in something really big. All very, I can't remember the name of the woman, can't remember the name of the guy, his husband, but she was left with billions of dollars, or a lot of money. And she donated this money, and I think it's to her old place of study. It's Einstein Medical School or something. She donated $1 billion to end for tuition fees, right? So all students studying medicine at this university, no tuition fees at all. And everyone's like, and the audience and the auditorium of medical students all just went into an uproar, etc. And I was like, oh, that's lovely, but uneasy with it. And we unpacked it a few, like last week or a week ago, whenever you came in. Why the fuck would you then not use $1 billion to give to a hospital to pay its people and cut medical fees for everybody who goes to that hospital? Considering that the medical situation and fees situation in the state of America is atrocious.
You break a fingernail, you're going to have to pay a kidney to get that fucker fixed. Excuse my language. My point is this. What a ridiculous, limited donation that was. Oh, I'm sure it's tax deductible. And she's probably thinking, I got so much from this university. Of course you did, you privileged white woman. I'm going to make sure none of these students who have come to be the noble, thing of Dr. Oh, for fuck's sake. We have enough doctors.
They don't have enough pay.
That's true. Doctors can't get jobs. Doctors don't get paid. Doctors have to work 26/9, free to prove they have to go through medical school for 6-7 years. And then, oh my God. And if you're a white, forget it. Also lawyers in Australia. If you're a white, forget it. It's a boys' club. And, unless you're willing to be an Oreo and suck dictatorship of ego, then yeah. Yeah. So Azrael just said something that you can have one viral social media post, one video gets viral, you become famous. And what's funny is the people that get famous are those that are leeching off the other. Yes, but that fame is fleeting, because I know I'll go and look at what a video that will have had 5.6 million hits, and I look at it and go, wow, our 3-minute live only gets 1,000, which I'm in awe of. It's like, what? How'd that happen? That's so cool. 1,000 people saw this. Cool. And then I see how it equates to viewership, etc. And I also realize one thing, because my friends are saying to me on Instagram, oh, I missed your live. It was so easy for me to just be here and do the live. I'm like, but when I was on Instagram, people are asking, well, why are you on YouTube so we can watch it, whatever. Yeah. But now we're on Instagram, I'm being told, well, I can't, I forget to go and watch, and it's so easy on Instagram. It's comfort zones. Yeah. People don't want to leave their comfort zones. And that's okay. And I get it. And the reason why I decided that we will come over to YouTube permanently on a live is so we can make it easier for everybody. For starters, unless you comment, I do not know who's here. And that gives you anonymity. And I'm happy with that. I'm an old school presenter, an old school television presenter. We're from the days we did not know who was watching us and who was listening to us. So my radio background, right? So radio was my first love, my first career. You didn't know, and people didn't know who the person was who was talking. They just enjoyed what you were saying. They enjoyed the music you played. They enjoyed your voice. Voices were a big deal before, not now. On radio, you have all these awfully, in Australia, and sadly in Fiji too. I don't want to say how, but in Australia, they're all like these pseudo celebrities, and they all talk through their nose, eh? And then they, and for some reason, the women on Australian radio, commercial radio, all think they have to be really stupid. And they're don't start me on that Jackie Henderson woman who is the co-presenter of that awful Kyle. They're the highest ratings radio people in Australia. Back when I was, when I first moved here, radio, whoa, Hans and Kaylee on WSFM. People, even American Rosso, but like the duos, the woman-man duos, intelligence and voice. They know radio. But, anyway, that time has come. Now we've got all these nasally people who are like, oh my God, I know. And it's like, oh, geez, I cannot listen to radio. And then you have these, reality show celebrities. Some of them have merit for sure, because, there's that Abby Chatfield who encourages women to have anal butt plugs to have pleasure, instead of asking why are women's genitalia so numb that, she's encouraging everyone to stick a vibrating butt plug for a maximum pleasure. There is a reason why women have cunts. I'm sorry. And there's a reason why they're all numb, and it's got to do with our brains. But you go right ahead and stick, butt plugs up your whatever. Seriously, these people, what are you doing to women? What are you doing? Anyway. So I'm saying that these people have got radio things because it's all about numbers. That's what gets the ratings now. It's no longer about what someone is saying or doing or sharing. But anyway, back then, that was what radio was. So, oh gosh, the world has changed and the world has to. That has to change. Change is inevitable. Change happens every second. We grow up every second. Change is difficult. I admit I'm not that good with change all the time. At first, I panic. Ugh. You know what I'm actually doing right now? I'm just filling in time because I've completely forgotten what I was saying. Oh, we moved to YouTube because I'm an old school presenter. On radio, we would get told at the end of the month or say 3 months, ratings are going up. People want to advertise with you. Like, oh, people want to advertise on your show. So you know that how many people were advertising. And that's what it's all about getting the advertisers right. I would love advertisers here. Hey, if you know anyone, tell them to jump on board. Don't wait for numbers. Grow with us. That's a different thing. Oh my God, we're going old school to go into the future. Grow with us. I'm saying back in the day, why, and the reason why we moved to, because also I'm an old school presenter. You know, I don't want to necessarily see people. I don't necessarily want to interact with people. And that's not saying I don't want peers here. I do want peer groups of quality viewership, as well as quality what you get to view. But watching and seeing who's here can make you really like, ooh, gosh, I'm shy. But I saw a regular peer, and I am pleased, delighted that we are worth your time. That is a huge thing to me, that we are worth your time. In a world that our time is so limited because, well, face it, we live as a finite life cycle species. So time is limited. It is limited just because, anyway. So I do love seeing who's here, but I also love the anonymity of YouTube. And it's old school, except when people start to comment. I've decided not to shut off comments because I've got to see what's happening. Now, so you only knew how good you were before by the number of people who wanted to advertise with you and your ratings, etc. I think no one's watching until I get messages saying, well, I watch when I do this and this, and I like what you're saying and blah, blah, blah. This is something I'm used to hearing from the 80s, back when I was in my, I started on radio. And I have people who say to me, who didn't, I really enjoy what you say. It opens my mind. Thank you for sharing your music. I like the way you talk. It helps, I like the words you say. I go and look it up. And I think that's wonderful because media is about education as well as entertainment. And to be able to share some information I know will expand somebody else's thinking.
It is information now, right? But what kind of information is the other thing too.
Yeah.
So you choose your information different to anyone else, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Because you do listen to some radio announcers and go, what the f are they talking about?
I've already said how awful it all is now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yes, as I was saying, talking about that billionaire, I feel that the money that she donated to that Einstein Medical School to cut all tuition fees, it would have been better suited given to, but maybe there's more red tape with that. For all we know, the state of America government or whoever is controlling all of that has said, no, you can't do that. We need to make a profit out of medical stuff. So, pharmaceutical companies, etc. But really, frankly, I would set up a fund to say, here, come and register and we'll pay your medical bills. I don't care, You have $1 billion. What do you give a shit about? About who wants to, if somebody's got a toothache and they can't afford it? Go ahead. I really appreciate Medicare in Australia. It's not free. Please don't think it's free. It does come from our taxes. It does come from the money we earn. We're freelancers, so the money we pay tax on the money we earn. I mean, so does everybody, but people who earn, and this is one thing I do have to talk about.
It is so hard to actually be a freelancer when you're. People can get really smug about it. I've got a client right now who's a little bit smug, like they've done me a favor because they finally paid for a job. They finally paid for a job. And whilst I get that everyone is having a lot of issues financially, salaried clients telling freelance clients that they can't pay them is a bit like, okay, look, I get that you have responsibilities. We all do. That's the thing. Freelancers don't have a guaranteed paycheck at the end of the week. We have to work. And I'm not feeling sorry for myself because there is so much freedom in that, although we don't get all the benefits of sick pay and leave, et cetera, et cetera. And that's fine too, because when we do want to take leave, we don't have to answer to anyone. And we can just say, look, we're just taking a bit of a break. And as it is, we do work 24/7, sometimes 25/8. We do. But also throughout the day, we just take a bit of a break. We're able to take breaks in a way that, and so this is why people loved working from home during, all that stuff, and why people are really struggling with going back to work. And a lot of people are realizing you don't need to go into an office environment to work. However, having said that, a lot of people do. A lot of people like going into the environment because it helps structure their brain. Work is work, home is home. And, because sometimes we have a problem, we can't differentiate between, because we'll be working, we do make certain stipulations. We don't always, we rarely eat while we're working. So if we eat while we're working, it's because we've got a deadline or we're really stuck into it and we don't want to mess, but we have to eat now. Otherwise it's going to be like midnight before you know it. So let's just eat. But most times we take time away and we will eat with mind, especially now we're very mindful about eating and gratitude and really show the food that you care for it. It's organic. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm talking about being very, very aware of what it is you put in your mouth. And it's actually quite a spiritual thing. And I know Vedic texts and Hinduism talks about this as well. I'm not Hindu, I'm not religious, but I do resonate very much with what Hinduism is all about. It's sad that the Hindutvas and the nationalists and the selfish people, jump onto all of these lovely things and use it for their own ulterior motives. Anyway, because right now India is making everyone who is non-Hindu can nationalize. I don't know what that is, or other people except Muslims. They don't want Muslims in the country. And look, there's a few things happening here. Firstly, it's like, what is that going to do in this current world, right? Why? It's because the Prime Minister of India is basically they call him the Indian Netanyahu. He's quite racial in that regard. But there's differences here. He's quite racist towards Muslims. Not quite. He's racist towards Muslims. And he wants India to be great again, kind of thing. Yeah, cool. I know, but let me tell you one thing. I do not at all agree with all of that shit. India is great also because of its Islamic history. Yeah, sure. A lot of Taj Mahal, anyone? Okay. That is a mosque, my friends. That is a mausoleum for a Mughal emperor's great love.
You told me some people want it.
And they don't, India doesn't promote it as one of its tourist destinations. Individual tourist things do. Yeah. All of Delhi is, the infrastructure is, and so much of it is, of course, because the North Indians don't like it because they too are invaders, the Indo-Aryans, The actual real Indians, the real Indians of India, the indigenous of India are South Indians, and they've been pushed out of everything. Every time the North comes into, likewise Europe, England, the British Isles, the people came in from the North, kicked the indigenous, Brits off, who are the Welsh, by the way. That's why, of course, the highest accolade for the heir to the throne is Prince of Wales. Mm. Oh, Kate. Oh, we got to talk about Kate. Yeah, fuck genocide. I'm sorry. Who? Fuck what's happening to the world. Who cares about the misery of children working in mines? Where's Kate?
Kate who?
Kate. Oh, he's just joking. I know. I was just trying to see what can I come out of this. Kate, she ate herself into, I don't know. I got nothing right now. I've got no limericks here. I'm sorry. But I was talking about, what was I talking about? God, before I jumped into everything that I jump into. This is what you're saying. I know too much. By the way, I'm wearing a Team Humanity t-shirt, and these are 80s pants made in Australia. Blah, blah, blah. I was talking about something relevant, and now I can't remember. I was talking about why we did come onto YouTube so that people can watch at their own time.
India.
I'm talking about India? Right. What's happening with India? Oh my gosh. It's just, but so I was talking about the history of India. You have to unpack the fact that India was invaded many times by Mughals and Islamic people wanting, and understand one thing, please understand this one thing. All religions were spread through force, through conquering, through war. Why do people not want to understand this?
Okay, but it was all in the name of God.
Oh, that's why?
So it's okay.
Okay. Every single religion has got its basis and the way it was shared. How do you think most of North Africa is Muslim? How do you think that happened? It was because of the Arab traders, and then so Muhammad and his caliphates. They, it said it was peaceful because they just wanted to spread the word, and Christianity, well, they spread the word in Crusades and the Knights Templar, and boy, they really, really spread the word when they took 235 years ago, 36 years ago, whatever, when they spread the word in this land now we call Australia. Okay. Sure. But India has a very convoluted history of how it feels about everything. I had explained, I was reading a book. I finished it because I did the book review on Instagram, and we didn't post it to YouTube because there's a whole lot of, so I might do that review of the books, those current books I'm rereading. I'm reading books that I've had in my collection for decades. So one of them is by incredible author, Geeta Mehta, that I pulled out last year again because she passed away in September 2023. World-renowned, just incredible writer. I will talk more about it when I do the review. And her book that I was rereading is a River Sutra. Now, sutra just means a collection of things, tales. And this was about the Narmada, the river, Rewa River in oh, it's beautiful. Let me talk to you about it more there. Why was I reading this? Why was I saying? Oh, because why it's called the way it is because it's one story with lots of little tales in between, inside it. So a collection of short stories in one book, but all connected, not separate. Ah, gosh, get to the point. And it talks a lot about India's variations on belief systems and I don't know how to describe it because they're all one race, but within the race there's all these different, it's like how the Europeans are Catholics and Baptists and Anglicans, which Anglicans are the German. Anglican, before it became the Church of England, was, please understand where the word Anglican comes from. It comes from Angle, which was a denomination. Thank you. Is that the term, or demographics maybe? But let me just finish this. Sorry, baby. Angle came from the German tribe that became Anglo, so Anglo-Saxon, with German tribes that took over, some of the German tribes that took over England. So Anglican, really, the basis is German, right? So, and then Roman Catholics were French, and then the Irish, I shouldn't say it like that, I'm sorry, I love the Irish.
Yeah,
and another thing I'm going to tell you, and we talk a lot about this in our analysis of that incredible series Warrior, which you should be watching. This is based on a treatment by the legendary great, I can't even say his name, every time we watch the series and the credits, Bruce Lee. You know, and it's executive produced by his daughter Shannon Lee, and it is now on Netflix. We watched it on the recommendation of my sister-in-law, Dwayne's younger sister, because they live in the States, and they said this show nobody watches. It used to be on Cinemax, which was a huge cable station. Then it went to HBO. In Australia, it's on Binge still, I think, or maybe not, because Netflix may have taken it over. But there's 3 seasons, and we've done analysis for 2. And it's all on our STV. You'll find it, go into the playlists, where Dwayne illustrates characters or scenarios from the show, and we laid over it is our soundtrack of analyzing and talking about it. And it's wonderful. It's beautifully made. It's historical fiction or fictionalized history. The colors are so luscious and sumptuous, and it is brilliant in the way it does one particular thing. And I will put some of the links into this caption here, so you can go and see, particularly where we talk about where they do this transition that is pure genius. And it's about how you hear something. And this is about the Chinese history in California and slavery and all sorts of things, and history of the police, how it started, etc. Oh, it's fascinating. So you should really watch that. So I don't know why I got onto that, but there you go. I did. I can't remember. Irish, right? Because it's also about the tales of the Irish. Now, when you do listen or watch the finale, it's only about 20 minutes long or something. The Irish, you will see that, wow, they've been persecuted like crazy, and they persecute everybody else because finally they've got power. Because get this, and I say this in the analysis and we talk about it, but I will just tell you here. The Irish were considered the negative black. I'm quoting now. Sorry, don't come at me. Negative black of Europe. So they were treated like they were, wow, crazy. It's crazy. It's almost like, what's going to happen in the future. So in countries like any country of the African continent, are lighter skinned people going to be treated like the way black skinned people are treated now? A question that we have asked before, and I don't know if we did it on our podcast or we weren't going to, but the question is, you know how everybody loves how black people are. When black, there's cool, then there's black cool. We have done an intersectionality of cool. We should talk about that. The intersectionality of cool. When what's cool? Who's cool? Who dictates what's cool? Why is Kate Moss cool? She's cool to these Euro white girls who just want to be like her. Like what? Skinny white going to Coachella and gumboots. God, oh sorry, Glastonbury or whatever. I don't know. But black cool, right? Everybody wants to take from them what how they talk, how they walk, how they, chill, how they vibe with each other, how they give shit to each other, how they all, So there's black cool, but these people, would they want to be black? Like we've talked about this. I love the black, way, especially. Oh no, but I love South Africans. They're so cool, particularly the generation that is taking South. People don't talk about South Africa much. They want to just talk about the apartheid. The only time South Africa is mentioned now is when they're referring to how apartheid was. And so, because that's what it happens in the Middle East country called Palestine. The apartheid that was put upon them for the last 75 years by the people who were put there by the people of the state of America, the government of the state of America, right? Long way of saying colonizers. So that's what happened in South Africa, blah, 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 and the Boers and the British, etc. And that's it. But why aren't we talking about the fact that South Africa is really doing some amazing things and in art and design, and no one cares about that, do they? And how they really, no one talks about Zionism in the black world and what it means. And that's where the Wachowskis, I'm sure, took Zion away from in terms of for their movie, The Matrix, that we love, the trilogy. And Zion was the place. And it's like, really? Why? Why is Zion the place? And then later on find out, well, Zion is actually a black movement too. People going especially back to the African continent and just being people and not black people. Dwayne has said this many times. Why don't these really, really rich black Americans, not even billionaires, you don't even have to be that. The economy of these countries are so shit now. You don't even have to be a multi-squillionaire to go and make a difference in these countries. And you've said, why don't they just go back, right?
And yeah, imagine if everyone went back.
And
all the rich, successful people go back and build Wakanda. Build it.
It's there. All the blueprint is there,
Yeah.
you know. And now more and more they're finding out how brilliant black people have been and how much they have been behind the evolution of the state of America, to find out in science, etc., and in all these things. You know, NASA has been made up of black American women, it seems, and ex-Germans who are Nazis.
Africa is still third world because everyone's in there just taking from it.
That's right. They're mining that continent and they're keeping the countries.
So everything is in Africa. Go back.
Absolutely.
And build it. Go back and build it. How amazing would that be?
Yeah.
You know, go back to your homeland. Build your homeland. You're successful in outside of your countries. Now you've got that success. Go back and build your land. How cool! If you've got that money.
Yeah.
You got something. You can make a change, like a real change.
Leave that country now to those Europeans who want it so badly and make America great again. To what? And what's happening to First Nations people of the state of America? Well, they're being left out of things, except, oh no, let's do the token thing. Oh, I want to burn into Oscars today sometime. I know it's a week later and I'm a bit behind, but I want to burn into some things here because I think that just to sort of do the tokenistic bullshit, they have talked up a role that has been played by an actress of First Nations origin, Lily Gladstone, in the Martin Scorsese movie Killers of the Flower Moon, which I've talked to you is based on this real life account of people of the Osage Nation. Now, I have also talked about elsewhere on a live or in a podcast episode, Radio Fly, that all the names we know, all the First Nations, tribes and peoples of the state of America and Canada, please understand, Canada has also got Indigenous people, and Canada's kind of worse. We all go, Canada, oh, moose, really lovely. Canada ain't better. Okay? Canada is quite bad to the Indigenous people. But they're all, in the state of America, they're all French names, because the French had come to first colonize the States. First, they came to that land to colonize it. And so they named all the tribes people French names or names that they could hear with their French accents. And it's like, and we have gone through this and we've read through it, and I can't remember where.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one. There's so many, I forget which one we've talked about. We might have to do that again. So intersectionality of cool. Can you make some notes for me, darling? Intersectionality of cool. I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about, well, this one question that I'm going to ask here. Would you be black? In this world today, you want to act like them, you want to dress like them, you want to talk like them. Would you be black? Would you be black? You know, because it is so, so difficult. And all these people in Australia, what have I said? Intersectionality. Can you finish right now? Because my mind is going elsewhere. Because you had also said something about demographics. About the demographics of a country, yeah. But yes, it's crazy. The first, and why I'm talking about Lily Gladstone, and I'll talk about it further in an Oscars rundown. Look, performances are subjective. There are people who are never going to appreciate, like, we haven't watched this movie, and apparently it's like 10 days long, so I don't think I want to. If I want to know the history of that, which I always have done and wanted to know, I go and research and look for it myself. I don't need to have a Euro-white or Italian Euro-white, Euro-white, American legendary director. Don't get me wrong, Martin Scorsese is absolutely worthy of all his accolades, but I don't need to get my historical information from Hollywood. Thank you very much. So Lily Gladstone has won all the awards, and so because leading up to the Academy Awards, which is not a global award system, it's only for the state of America. Get over yourselves.
So prior, leading up to it, there's all these Golden Globes and SAGs and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. So apparently she's won a few. And everyone's like, yes, you know, great, great representation of First Nations. And it's like, what? Okay. I mean, yes, it is. It's all, yes, it is. And I love it. I love it. I haven't seen the movie to give you my review on her performance. There are differing reviews. Everyone's going crazy over her. But there's also some honest people who are not being published. These are people on, and I don't always go by what the people are saying, because people are meh. So I don't go and look at comments on social. I'm not on Facebook, but social media, because they can be quite racist or overly gushy, and it's like, But when you go into places like Reddit and Quora, etc., you get some reality here, and people are saying, look, I don't get it. I think it's just tokenism. And it's likewise, who did win? Don't start me on who won the best anything. I don't even know who won the best actor. I don't give a shit. Best actress was Emma Stone, and I still don't give a shit. And I'm going to talk about that later, because right now, this is not my episode for Oscars vitriol.
Wasn't it the Oppenheimer dude?
Yes, him. Oh God, all I see him as Scarecrow from Nolan's Bat trilogy. So no, you know, and I'm sorry, and as we have explained in another episode, why I'm not interested in watching Oppenheimer, even though I would say Christopher Nolan is our favorite global director, and we have favorite directors from all countries and industries, film industries around the world. I especially have favorite Indian directors. I have favorite Chinese directors. We like quite a few, you know, Japanese directors, etc. So, but Christopher Nolan for me is really right up there. Every single movie of his has been quite something. It's quite a feat of artistry, and he brings something up. And that's why he works with, you know, but he's got a racial problem in that where are the global majority? But he's a British American, you know, genius, and he sees only in his bubble, and this is what he makes. So Oppenheimer is made from the viewpoint of, the angst I feel, because apparently Oppenheimer, who created the bomb, you know, and then he turns to Hinduism, which is why Oppenheimer is banned in India or something. Let's start India. Come, get over yourselves. It's the people of India like, oh my God. We actually don't care to tell us anything. Indian people are so confident in their arrogance. Like if I say I'm Indian, they're like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. You're of Indian ancestry. All right. You know, they're just so, they will take anything. They don't care. It's the government, people in place of government. So anyway, Oppenheimer. And apparently he quotes, and he did this in real life too, something from the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Hindu holy book. And he says something, because it's something that God says, one of the gods. And of course, understand this thing about Hinduism, which I will talk about another time. There is no one face of God. It's really just God, which really, before patriarchy, everyone understood to be feminine energy. And from that came the masculine energy that became the protectors, the destroyers, etc., etc. Makes sense. Why should the woman, you know, you guys, you with the penises, go. So one of those great, beautiful gods, or essences, whatever, I think is Shiva. I know is Shiva, and I think Shiva is the one who says, now I am destruction. And apparently Oppenheimer says that when he sees the bomb go off. And he's like, you know, I don't want to make this bomb, blah, blah, blah. Then why make it? I'm sorry, this is from the viewpoint of a people who had no choice but to bomb those that were going to kill them. What? As we said in yesterday's live, which unfortunately didn't get heard because there was no audio, which is why we were being quite diligent about checking audio today. Why does there have to be a side? Why do you have to win if it isn't sport? Why, outside of sporting or something else that is just indicative of merit, competition, why has it become a life and death thing?
It's because there's two sides, right?
But why?
Yeah.
Why, when it comes to competition in sport, I get somebody has got to lose in order for someone to win. However, usually it's because both these sides have got the capacity, potential, ability to win. You know? But when you have, like, you can't have, it's before, we talked about this in our rugby analysis before, Fiji playing rugby, right? Fractured, weak, no stability, no, bonding, no, nothing, people, but now, and no playing on the international stage. Maybe one or two would be, but now the majority of the Fiji rugby team does. And they had a world-class coach, a global coach, Fijian. But before, a Goliath like Australia or New Zealand playing against Fiji, yeah, that's not right. First tier teams, that's not right. And then sometimes Australia and New Zealand would play their B teams, Australia A, which is actually Australia B, because they don't want to say Wallabies are Australia A, and then Australia A is actually Australia B. They're not even the reserves, they're Australia B. And so they would put these teams to play teams like Fiji, until, of course, Fiji was able to get equal footing in some way or the other. And they have, and they proved it at the last World Cup. Unfortunately, they couldn't go further than that incredible match. That was the match they were meant to play. It meant everything to take down Australia. And it was hard for us because I'm from.
That was our final.
That was our final. It was hard because, like, I love Australia. We're diehard Wallabies people, okay? Diehard Wallabies. Until they play Fiji. I'm not necessarily diehard. I'm diehard of a certain era. Like, it's the actual era that the Wallabies are saying. Competition has to be equal. And also, what is this thing about hustling against people? Like for me, competition is like, no. You people compete down there. At this level, we all support each other. I'm seeing an interesting thing. There's people who say they support each other, but they only go on with peers to stand on their shoulders. I'm seeing this a bit. At the moment, especially, I have peer women contacting me to support their things, what they're doing, to support them, even like help with their families, etc., or like to support them in their endeavors. But when you start talking about, well, what you're going through and your endeavors, they just can't hear it. They don't want to hear it. So people now don't want to hear anybody else's. They only want to hear something that helps their narrative about them. So at the start of this, this has been very, very healing for me. So I have chosen to do my healing publicly, obviously. Well, I've chosen to live a visible life, not a public life, a visible life. Those of you who know my backstory know that for in the 90s, 80s, 90s, the majority of my 20s, all my 20s actually, I was a very well-known personality. And in my 30s and 40s, I have not stopped doing and accomplishing in the areas I am, skilled in. And so because of that, I have renown. I may not be globally famous, blah, blah, blah. What has this got to do with anything? I can't remember what I was saying. I'm talking about competition. And then why I mentioned the women peers, it's like, well, okay, but you're making me sound like you only came to get a butt on a seat at your event, and and I understand sometimes, because as a publicist, I understand what it means to get important people to your thing, to your event. I understand what it makes it look like, because it's all about optics. Oh, so maybe that's why I was asked. Okay, but right now I can't. I can't do these things, especially because I'm a contributor. I am a solutions provider. I can't just go and sit in an audience. That's a terrible waste of me and my skills, of us. If you want us there to photograph, well, I'm sorry, we do need payment, because I am no longer doing any free work. Also, doing free work is about privilege. So the more privilege you have, the more things you should do just freely. Don't even see it as work, see it as an extension of your capabilities that you're utilizing to help other people build their,
to shine a light. Be a lighthouse, to be a spotlight. Don't shine that spotlight on you all the time. That's why you're a lighthouse, you know. And so that's what I'm doing. So yeah, okay, I get it. But right now, it's like, look, I think if you don't, and especially people who know my things. And I know it sounds like, God, here we go. You're going on and on about yourself again. So I assure you that I hardly go on and on about myself. I mean, I could. But people just want to listen to what is going to fit their narratives and what is going to be in their comfort zones. Excuse me, I need to have a gulp of water. God, I hope the sound has been good. And I also need to have a cough. Sound. Anyway, well, I hope that this didn't go off, because I went off. Dwayne had said denominations, demographics, and that's what I was talking about, this book, the River Sutra, and how India has got so many demographics and denominations. I'm not talking about caste, but we do need to discuss that shit. Because every part of the world has some sort of hierarchical system. And don't just blame India for its caste system. The Euro construct has a huge caste system. They call it class. And just because you can buy yourself up to the front of the plane, that seems to be like, well, we're classy now. No.
Rugby, tier 1, tier 2.
Oh, yeah, there we go. But at least that is based on some merit. You don't pay to get into the Wallabies. You've got to, well, yeah, this is where Dwayne says that when we watch rugby, I'm a Gen Xer, I'm from a certain era, and Dwayne would look at me and go, babe, your toxic male is coming out. It's so true. I'm so ashamed. Because I'm of the era like, you're a Wallaby, get up. You don't get to this level just to be, Boy. And this was during the first match of the Bledisloe, was it?
Yeah, something like that.
And it was the captain. It was the captain of the Wallabies who did a big song and dance. Very lovely. I love spiritual, cultural presentations like Don't Even Start Us on the Haka. And I love it. You know, I love when Fiji does the Dhimbi, yeah? Yeah. The other countries, other Pacific origin countries do that too. Samoa, Tonga. I love it. So, and Australia is just, Australia always had the tough guys, or trying to be tough. Back in Eel's era, they just stood there and watched the haka being done. And I thought that was pretty cool too. If you're going to represent your country, represent your invaded country. And stand there like, yeah. With guns.
That's the confidence they had, right?
Oops. But now it's nice to see some cultural things, and I think that the captain who was the captain last year, is of Samoan origin, big guy, and he's a prop. If you know rugby, it means that this guy is supposed to be a tank. That's why he's chosen and trained as a prop. Anyway, so he did the big cultural thing. La, la, la. Great. And then what happened? 5 minutes into this game, his Achilles tendon snapped. Second time, first time it happened, he should have not been allowed back, because once the Achilles goes, it goes. But anyway, it's time for me to go, because I'm getting a little bit toxic male about this whole situation. But what I mean was, at that level, with hundreds and thousands of people who wish they could be at that level, with the money they get paid, this is no time to break. And this is the only time competition matters. But in between people and between countries, that's crazy. This fighting for survival, fighting for rights. No, you know what? Military people should go and play sport then. Go play rugby. And then go for blood. Go for it. No blood bin. Go for it. Kill each other. No, please don't. I love humanity. Don't do that. I just don't want anyone killing. But it must be time for, then, the Daily Egg. Team Humanity here, people. Team Humanity. Thank you very much for being with us today. I'm off to enjoy that beautiful egg. Thank you, my darling. We'll see you again on the Daily Egg later. It's the weekend coming up. We'll see you again for something.